look at this from the perspective of how the public has discussed this, I think that we have completely failed. And that has become quite indicative of how we do things here in the country. The way I view this, and oftentimes when it is shrouded in those terms, Article 71, and Chief Justice here and there, the President here and there, we obfuscate the problem in a certain way. Because I think what is at the heart of this conversation is privilege of the obscene kind, only so available to very limited people, often people who, by virtue of their standing, of their education, of their association, have enjoyed the goodies that this country can provide almost from the point of birth. Okay, so if you look at it within that particular sense, you see how this is clearly a very exclusionary arrangement, only serving the elites of this country. And I say so because I do not know if anybody does, they can correct me here. When was the last time you heard and saw that, if you take, for instance, the Council of State, that, I mean, basically, we're looking at Ghanaians who have done very well, have lived a very good life, of experiences that can share with the president and help us, all of that. We have a country that has so many people being very poor. Have we ever had the conversation about the possibility of an illiterate farmer in a cocoa farm somewhere in Seshi, having farmed for 45 years, also being a candidate for the Council of State? In many times when we're talking about it, we're looking at a certain Sam Okujeto, who has been a lawyer for God knows how many years, took bit this, took bit that. And that is why precisely, if you look at the current subject that is on our hands and how we're talking about it in respect of what Tugbe Afede, for instance, has done, I'm not enthused by that at all. Because you must appreciate this when you look at whether or not the individual, for instance, who is now returning their monies, what the risk does just come to them. And so for me, anything that borders on privilege in the sense that no other person is able to have the opportunity to be part of it and all of that is completely something that I detest. The teacher has talked to you about his own condition. Very recently, I was talking to a friend of mine who also, his mom, having served in the Ghana Education Service for nearly 39 years, retired with a paltry sum. We cannot continue to accept things like that. And often, when we ask about the public, the reason we sometimes also do not see a lot of backlash is because we're very aspirational. There's very things that we're complaining about. There are many of us who just simply want to be in those positions because we have absolutely no principle whatsoever. So ultimately, people look at themselves and see the possibility of eventually one day becoming Chief Justice themselves, going to Parliament themselves. And when I hear people say, well, members of Parliament perhaps deserve it because by the nature of their work and all of that, I'm sorry, but that is absolute nonsense. And I'm not speaking to Abdo in the studio. I'm speaking about this generally. Because what about them really make them so special that after 4 years, we see them, okay? They don't go there because of their qualification. They don't go there because of anything. Basically, if you have money in this country and you are associated with the right political party, you have a very good chance, if you choose your spot very well, to become a member of Parliament. We're seeing people living here in Accra and somehow just pop up somewhere in their village because they have amassed enough money to go and run for MP and all of that. When you look at all of those people, and then we have created a certain arrangement in our constitution that allows these people to be able to go home very handsomely like that, there's no way that a developing country, a very poor one at that, like Ghana, and Ghanaians should find this conscionable in any way whatsoever. And that is why the legal debate or argument is never good enough.
Yeah,